Welcome to the first screencast, getting those who were absent for several days the week before spring break, giving you a chance to get caught up, see what we did in class, and for anyone who needs a little bit of review before our test, this will be a good review. What I would like for you to do now is read Chapter 18, Section 1 in the Bird Book. So go ahead and pause this screencast and you can read 18.1 and that will get you up to speed, and we'll do a little discussion with it. So pause and read now, please. I've already read 18.1, so let's get started. Carolus Linnaeus was a Swedish botanist living in the 1700s, and he developed levels of classification, and he did quite a bit of work with classifying organisms and coming up with scientific nomenclature, scientific naming of organisms. And on page 514 in the Bird Book are the levels of classification. You probably remember these from middle school. The broadest level not shown here is domain. So domain comes before kingdom. There are three domains: the archaea domain, the eubacteria, and the eukarya. We'll be looking at that a little bit more closely a little later. You probably remember from middle school: kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. And after domain, kingdom is the broadest category. And so this diagram shows animal kingdom. And there are several phyla in a kingdom. And then the next level, class. So there are several classes in each phyla. Order, you would have several orders under each class. Family, genus, we're becoming more specific, and species referring to only one type of organism. A way to remember the levels of classification from broadest to most specific, probably did something like this in middle school. King Philip came over for good soup. You can add domain to that. Daring King Philip came over for good soup. So those are the levels of classification. Now let's look at scientific name. Binomial nomenclature was developed by Linnaeus, and in binomial nomenclature, each species is assigned a two-part scientific name. And the words are usually written in Latin. Latin is what we call a dead language, dead meaning no one speaks it anymore, so it's not likely to change. So the scientific name of organisms, usually written in Latin, and the scientific name is the genus along with the species. The book gives a scientific name, Ursus arctos, or the brown bear or the grizzly. And the way that a scientific name is written is the genus is capitalized. So Ursus, that's the genus. It's capitalized. Arctos is the species, and it is not capitalized. So the genus is capitalized, the species is not. And if you are typing, you italicize both the genus and the species, or if you're writing, you would underline. So Ursus arctos is the scientific name for the brown bear or the grizzly bear. The first word is the genus. It's always capitalized. The second word is the species. It is not capitalized, and these words are either written in italics, typed in italics, or it is underlined. The book has the word systematics as a vocabulary word, and you'll also hear the word taxonomy. So I've looked up the definitions to compare the two. Systematics deal with evolutionary relationships between organisms. That's when you're trying to determine which organisms share a recent ancestry with others. When you're looking at systematics, you're concerned about the amount of evolutionary changes that may have occurred between ancestries. Taxonomy is just simply dealing with classifying and naming organisms. Okay, after we looked at the levels of classification, we looked at scientific naming, we took a quiz. This is the 18.1 quiz. So take a look at number 1. Write the scientific name for this llama properly. We have the word llama glama. So how would you write the scientific name for llama glama? Let you look at that for just a second. Okay, the proper way to write this would be capitalize llama. You do not capitalize the second word, glama, and you would underline both words. Look at number 2. In the scientific name for llama, which word is the species? In other words, is llama or is glama the species? Take a second to think about that. Okay, glama is the species. Remember, we do not capitalize the species, but we do underline it. So number 3, which word from the llama scientific name is the genus? Well, the only one left. Llama, capitalized, that's the genus. So in llama, glama, llama is the genus. Remember to capitalize it, underline, and then underline glama, that is the species. Okay. Number 4, write the levels of classification in order from broadest to most specific. Now, if you need a little help remembering that, remember Daring King Philip came over for great soup. All right, take a minute to think about those levels. And let's go back for levels of classification as seen on page 514. Daring would stand for domain, and remember there are 3 domains: kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. Those are the levels of classification. Okay, and then for the last question, you have a diagram. You have A includes everything in this big circle. B is included in A. C is included in B. Then we have D, which is in A. It looks as if C and D are on the same level, but D is not part of B. Here are your choices: Kingdom Animalia, Phylum Chordata, Class Insecta, Class Mammalia. So take just a minute, see if you can determine what goes where. Okay, I don't think anyone had difficulty determining that A would represent the kingdom, Animalia. So we're talking about animals, right? So we know insects and mammals, those are animals. And then the next broadest category is B, which is inside of A. We see Phylum Chordata. Phylum Chordata. Now, this is where you might need to know what a chordate is, chordata. When you think of a chordate, think of an animal that has a backbone. So most chordates have a backbone. They have a spinal cord, and most of them with a backbone. So which would have a backbone? Would the insect, class Insecta, or class Mammalia? Well, Insecta, that's easy to determine. Those are insects. Mammalia, mammals. They have mammary glands, and in the females, those mammary glands produce milk. So we are considered mammals. We have a backbone. So C should be class Mammalia. And then out here by itself, in the animal kingdom, class Insecta. All right, hopefully you did well. So that was the quiz we did on 18.1. And that will be the end of this screencast.